Hey everyone! Community college is a great way for people to gain a better understanding of what profession they want to pursue in life, as well as a cheaper option compared to the traditional four-year institution. Today, we're going to observe how community college influenced one dental student's pre-dental journey. We have Taylor Cohn, who is a first year at UOP Dagoni School of Dentistry. Thanks for being here today, Taylor.
Thanks for having me.
So, could you please describe to us your journey from undergrad to dental school? So, like, where did you attend? What was your major, and how many years you were at each location?
Yeah. Okay. So I graduated high school in 2013. And after that, I went to community college. And even though I knew I wanted to do dentistry, I kind of took my time. So I spent 4 years at community college. And a lot of this was because I was working so much. So I kind of took a lot of extra classes and I did a lot of my prereq classes at community college. And then I didn't know where I wanted to transfer to, and I ended up going to UC Davis. So I went there for 2 years, and then I took a gap year, and now I am here at UOP. So I kind of took sort of like untraditional route to dental school, but everyone goes at their own pace, and it's worked out for me.
So, where did you know that you want, or when did you know you wanted to be a dentist? Like, where does that fit in the timeline?
Yeah. So my grandpa was a dentist, but he was never practicing when I was a kid. But I had always like seen his tools and I thought they were so cool. And one day he passed on his dental tools to me, and this is the last time I saw him. And so it was a very meaningful like thing to him because or for him and for myself. And then in high school, I did a year-long internship. I was in a business program, and we had to choose someone that we wanted to shadow. And I was like, okay, well, I'll shadow like my dental hygienist. And so I went to my family dentist and I shadowed the hygienist and the assistant. And I was like, you know what? I want to do more than that. And so I started shadowing my dentist and I loved it. And then after high school, I did a mission trip to Honduras, and it was a dental mission trip. So I got to do hands-on work and assist the local dentist there. And I loved it. I loved how I just noticed how, in comparison to shadowing in offices, you could work in underserved areas. And I love the flexibility of dentistry. You can work in like the low income areas and work with like very few materials, but you can also be in high end, top notch offices. And so that's something that like drew me to dentistry. And I like discovered more and more as my dental journey went on. And then from there, I just became more committed to my dental journey.
I see. So you knew you wanted to pursue dentistry before community college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and what's your opinion on like having gone to community college and then like wanting to apply to dental school? Did you like what did you know about it before entering community college, and like what did you feel like now that you're in dental school? Like, did you feel like you were hindered at all, or like did schools look at your application any differently?
Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have a lot of guidance in my route to dentistry. I like didn't really know how to get there. I didn't know that it was suggested that you go to like a UC or like a four-year university right away. And so I just had always had the mindset of going to community college. I never thought it would hinder me in any way. And so after high school, I went to community college. And even though I knew I wanted to do dentistry, I knew I wasn't going to do it like soon. I just wasn't mature enough. I could have never done it when I was right out of high school. That's just me personally. But fast forward to going to UC Davis, I started to surround myself with other like-minded individuals. And that is something that I noticed about community college versus a four-year university is I was surrounded by dedicated people who were really hardworking. And at community college, I worked full time and then I went to school part time. So that's a big reason to why it took me so long to finish community college.
Mhm.
But also, when I was at Davis, I was involved in more extracurriculars than I ever was, and I got super involved. There was definitely more opportunities for involvement and more um, just dental related opportunities there. And it wasn't until Davis when I really started to do things that like enhanced my application. Uh, so
Sure.
yeah, I don't think, sorry to answer that, I don't think going to community college hindered me in any way.
Mhm.
I just have a different way. And when I did get asked that by faculty or in my interviews, I told them, like, I worked all the time. I knew I wanted to save money after high school, and community college allowed me to do that. And I don't regret it at all.
Okay. So when you were applying to schools, even like the schools on your radar, they didn't even care if you went to community college or not then, I'm assuming. Because there are schools that uh they explicitly say like we don't accept those courses, right?
Right. Yeah. So there were a couple schools, and I never knew that. I didn't know, as like when I was in community college, I didn't know there were schools that weren't going to accept those credits. I never thought it would matter at all until I started applying. And there were a couple of schools. I think it was like Marquette and Temple and a couple others, but I I didn't really want to apply to the Midwest or East Coast too much, so I wasn't too upset. But that is something to be aware of for those who are interested in going farther away or in those areas. Definitely look ahead at that and see what schools won't accept credits. And then a lot of the ones I applied to, if they did have any restrictions with community college credits, there was like a limitation. So they would say only accept like 30 or 80 community college credits. And as long as the rest were from a UC, then you were fine.
Gotcha. Okay. So you mentioned before that you took most of your prereqs at community college, right? How did you think that affected your ability to do well on the DAT? Because sometimes I know and personally that like in my community college courses, sometimes they just be like, oh, omit this part of the chapter or whatever. So like sometimes I thought maybe I'm not receiving a complete experience in a certain class. Did you feel the same way?
I can totally see that because, yeah, sometimes community college does things like that. Um, Although I took my DAT a couple years after taking most of those prereqs. So I did calculus, all my math, I did all my, not all my science, but I did all like the general bios, and then I did all my chem, gen chem and OChem at community college. And then I took my DAT like 4 years after I had finished those classes. So I already had such a big gap. So I relied on DAT Bootcamp and DAT Destroyer to basically like reteach me everything. And I think that it was definitely enough. I did well enough. So I don't think it would have mattered if I had taken the classes at a UC or community college. I think as long as you have good resources, then you'll be fine.
Okay, that's fair. So, and what about with getting like letters of rec? So, usually schools like to see letters of recommendations from science like related courses, but since you completed most of them as CC, do you feel like it was ever hard to get your letters of recs at Davis?
Mm-hmm. So when it came to letters of recs, I luckily when I was at Davis, I made sure to get to know my professors. And I know that's harder now with things being on Zoom. And I think, you know, students have to try even harder to reach out to their professors. But for me, I had asked my professors like, oh, can we get coffee sometime? Can I like talk to you? And so that was no problem. At community college, it was definitely easier to get to know them because I the classes were smaller, and I think I was fortunate enough that my community college had amazing teachers. And yeah, so when it came to the letters of recs, I asked two of my UC Davis professors, and then I could have asked some at community college, but I decided not to just because those would have been, community college was like longer ago. But
So you
sorry,
think
what
it
was the
was
question?
about, so do you think it was about like the amount that like the professor knew you, or is it because like where their institution was, like where they were working at the time?
I think as long as your letters of rec can like tell and describe who you are as a person and really show that that professor knows you, then that carries more weight than like the credibility of the institution. I like luckily both of mine were from a UC, so I mean, that wasn't an issue. Like the credibility thing wasn't an issue, but I could have gotten great letters of rec from community college. And I do know a lot of people that also had community college writers write their letters of recs, and they had no issues. I think is they're looking for, they just want to know that schools want to know that who they're applying, who the people they are applying is like a good applicant, and they want to see someone else's perspective of that applicant.
Right. Okay. So in general, if a school does accept community college courses, do you think they will look at it any differently than if like the person you're competing with went to a 4-year?
I don't think so. So I got into UCLA, and I know a lot of people say like that's a very, it depends on your stats. And my community college stats, they weren't the greatest, and it was community college. So even though that's like a very, it's a very well-known school, I had no issues with community college. No school I went to had looked down on me going to community college. I was questioned maybe in 2 interviews, and they're like, "Oh, so like I noticed you went to community college. Like what was the reasoning for that?" And I just told them I wanted to save money. I was taking my time. I like knew I wanted to do dentistry, but at the point I was at in life, I wasn't ready for going to a 4-year. And as long as you have a good reason, then I don't think you'll have any issues. And another thing I would say is if you are at community college, try to take, and you're not working or you're working a little bit, try to take more units, because sometimes it does have that, it does have like a connotation of being easier. So in order to make up for that, try taking an extra class, take like 17 units or something like that. That's what I would suggest.
That's some good insight. So how many people in your class do you think, or do you know, that went to community college? Is it a lot, or are you like the
I
only
would
one?
say so. UOP is a little different because we have the undergrad program, and their undergrad is you can finish it in 2 years or 3 years and then go straight to UOP. But outside of the UOP undergrad students, I would say there's a good amount of classmates I have that, at least if they didn't go to community college, they did take community college credits like in the summer, or like post bachelor's, they took like an anatomy course there. And that's always helpful. No one can ever look down on you for doing that, because it's like you're in your gap year, you're only trying to like benefit yourself, and you're taking classes. So that always is a good look. At least I would think so. But there are a good amount of people who did go to community college, maybe not for 4 years like I did, but yeah, everyone has their own story. As long as you like have a reason, then that's what they want.
Yeah, that's fair. That sounds really good. So do you have any final bit of advice for someone who like knows they want to do dentistry and they've decided they're going to go to community college? Like what would you tell them? Or what would you tell yourself if you could go back in time and just talk to
Yeah.
yourself before entering CC?
Yeah. Let's see. So I would say if I had more time and I wasn't working as much as I was in community college, I would have definitely taken more time to shadow, or maybe try to pick up a couple hours in a dental lab, or just get more dental experience, in whatever way that was. Some people get like their X-ray certification, or they'll become dental hygienists first. And I thought about that, but I'm like, this is going to set me back even more time. And then also I would say that if you do have the time, try to increase your load of units. Other than that, I would say like don't feel pressured, or don't feel like going to community college is going to limit your chances, because I was fortunate enough to have like very good offers, and I had options, and I'm so lucky for that. But community college never hurt me in any situation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and providing us with your perspective. That was really helpful. I know for me as a community college student, like this, it was relieving to hear that you didn't think it was or it hindered you in any way. So that's really good. If any of our viewers have any questions for you, is it possible they can reach out to you either through email or social media?
Yeah, so let's see. I would say my email is a good way. It's t underscore cone 2 at u.pacific.edu, or social media, Instagram. I have a dental Instagram account. It's at two, the number two, and then th, and then be told. So like tooth be told.
So everyone, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when we upload new content, hit that notification bell. If you have any questions for us at FutureDDS, you can just DM us at underscore FutureDDS, and we'll try to reply as soon as possible. And until then, see y'all next time.